Hi, my name is Jessica May Ramantilia. I was born in Manila, Philippines on September 30th, 1991. And here I was as a baby with big eyes, and I was crying probably, and curly lots of hair. I was the youngest of 3 kids. It was me, my brother June, and my brother Mark. Here's June with his hat, and Mark with hair, and he's always mad and angry teenager, and my mom, who had big puffy curly hair. And before first grade, I hopped on a plane with my brothers and moved here in New Jersey. And when I went to school, I didn't understand a thing because I didn't speak English. So I had no friends, and they told me to go to ESL, where I had so much fun. I remember playing Guess Who and games, and I got to hang out with my brother, and my teacher, who was really awesome, would praise me, and I loved it so much. Such a great learning experience, and I learned so much English, and I did it so well that in 2nd grade, I didn't need to go to ESL anymore. And I loved to read and sing and started doing art. I made lots and lots of friends because I finally was able to speak English fluently. In 4th and 5th grade, I would sit in a classroom and everyone else understood math and science, and for me, it was confusing. I didn't understand numbers. It looked like scribble to me, and I didn't really do well in it. And I remember when I was in 4th grade and I got my first C, and I cried and I cried and I cried so much. It's the first time I ever cried in school because I didn't understand why, even though I studied. Now here I was in 5th grade and I had long hair. I thought I was cool because I wore dresses. I had so many friends because I just had moved to West Orange from Livingston. And this is where I met my art teacher. And she told me, "You're really good at art." So she encouraged me. Well, yeah, this video doesn't do any justice. That, I'm sure. So in the lunchroom, she told me to paint flags all around. And here I was, painting flags with my name on the wall in my elementary school while kids outside played during recess. And there was me, and I was so happy because I loved art. My middle school years, I had a ponytail because it was cool back then. I had my funky dress, and I still loved to read and write. It was my favorite subject, and I loved art. And math, I still was not understanding it. And while everybody was in normal math classes, I knew that my math class was way behind, and I felt sad. But in 7th grade, I met the best English teacher. His name was Mr. Weck, and he was really cool. And he would draw these cartoons all over the board, and he was obsessed with them. So then he would have all these little toys and display, and we weren't allowed to touch them, but you always wanted to anyways. And I sat in his class with my cool ponytail, and I would sit there, so happy to be there. and he would tell us to read, and he would tell us to write, and I wrote so many stories. In 9th grade, I enjoyed singing. So I was part of the choir and I did all these solos, and that's what I was very proud of in 9th grade. And I just learned that I have other talents. I may not be good at math or science, but I had other talents. But in 10th grade, my mom packed our stuff and then we moved again for the 3rd time. And that's when I moved to Union High. And I would sit in the stalls during lunchtime because I didn't know anybody. And I would just sit there and cry, boo-hoo, sad me. But then, all I had to do was get the courage to be friendly. And so I made all new friends. And I enjoyed school again. Because I learned to just be me. And all throughout my years in high school, I had great grades in English and history and arts and even science. But in math, it still gave me a lot of trouble. And in 11th grade, gosh, that was my worst nightmare. I had the worst teacher, and I was in geometry, and I would sit in his class, and I would think so hard my head would hurt, and I would ask him a question, and he'd grumpily say, "What do you want?" And I'd be too scared to ask. Or if he'd pick on me, and I was too slow to answer, and I'd say, and I'd think about it to make sure it's right, he'd say, "You're too slow, forget it." And I hated him for that. I felt really discouraged. But in 12th grade, I made a change. I decided to turn that frown completely upside down and just think and accept myself for what I am and what I'm good at. And because of my other teachers in graduation, I thought about my psych teacher, my ESL teacher, and my English teacher, and I felt inspired. I didn't want to be like my math teacher who discouraged me. I wanted to be me, my own. And that's why I'm here, to be a teacher and to be an influence